Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to Talking at 6. I am your host, 1-6, AKA. Aren't you a little old to be talking about this show? Yes. Yes, I am. AKA. You're digging my ride from outer space. AKA. Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. After Hours. AKA. These songs are way better than you would expect. AKA Not So Bad at Dad After All. AKA My name is Doof and you'll do what I say. Woot woot. AKA Traumatic Backstories. AKA AKA Giant Floating Baby Head. AKA Alabama bound with a load of bananas, heading south across the Mason-Dixon line. AKA a tire spinning, gear grinding, clutch burning, backfiring, paint trading, redlining, overheating, throttle stomping, truck driving girl. AKA Ducky Momo. Wank 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 wank. Today's episode, I'll be discussing / reviewing the Disney Channel original series, Phineas and Ferb. Those of you that aren't familiar, Phineas and Ferb is an animated series that follows the day-to-day adventures of two brothers trying to just make the most out of their summer. All the while, their older sister is trying to show their mom how dangerous the things they're doing actually are. She constantly gets her plans foiled. Plans explodes and constantly gets foiled by just random, insane, honestly just coincidences. Eventually her stance is that the universe is just trying to stop her, but honestly it's just random coincidence 90% of the time. Excuse me. But also the B plot of this show is their pet platypus is actually a secret agent who's constantly trying to stop the villain, the evil Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who's trying to take over the entire tri-state area, which is where they live. He tries to take over the tri-state area, but, he's a bumbling, I don't want to say idiot, but, he's classic cartoon villain, evil villain, where he's, his ideas are, half-baked ideas, are easily foiled, and a lot of them are, just extremely stupid, but also, exist because he has, a lot of traumatic backstories. Literally, one of the funniest ones, one of the craziest ones is, how he hates birthdays in general. He tries to ruin everyone's birthday because he hates birthdays in general, because it all started on his first birthday. No, not his first birthday. It all started on the day of his actual birth, where both of his parents failed to show up. It's, funny as shit, obvious reason. Physically, physically impossible for your parents to show up. For both, not just one, both parents failed to show up for his actual birth. How? How the fuck is that possible? But clearly, kid show. But that's a joke. Thrown in for the parents. But it's really funny. Has a lot of great moments. His entire literally every one of his evil schemes is just based on just traumatic backstory or just some insane experience he had that ultimately makes zero sense. But he makes a device because he's an evil genius, so he makes all these crazy, insane devices to come up with the work for these really extremely specific plots. But they all get foiled. They always get foiled by Perry the Platypus, Secret Agent P, aka Perry the Platypus, who is Phineas and Ferb's pet platypus Perry, who was acts like just a normal brain dead platypus, his eyes point in different directions. He just walk around. He's the running joke of the series is him always saying, "Oh yeah, he's a platypus. He doesn't do much." And then when they're not looking, he sneaks off, goes to a secret lair, puts on a fedora, becomes Agent P, Secret Agent P, who works for this organization where literally all the secret agents are animals, but the director of it is a man named Major Monogram. And then he has an intern named Carl that works for him, but everyone else in the agency is animals. And it makes no sense whatsoever. And that joke actually comes up a lot. It's why is organization all animals? Which is really funny because it also one of the last episodes of the series was actually a setup for the spin-off series based on that organization, where it turns out Doofenshmirtz actually qualifies to be an agent of the organization. Also, the organization is called ALCA, organization without a cool acronym. They have a shit acronym. Anyway, the acronym's terrible, but yeah. It's the spin-off series called the Alka Files. It only got one episode and never got picked. Disney didn't pick it up for an actual series for a full season run or whatever, for a full season run. But Doofenshmirtz, technically by the bylaws of that organization, Doofenshmirtz qualifies. Dr. Doofenshmirtz qualifies to be an agent of the organization because he was raised by ocelots. Like, he has human parents, but in one of his backstories, there's a part where he mentions like part of one of his backstories is one of his traumatic backstories is for a while. There was a moment in time, there was a point of his life where he was raised by ocelots. Like, his parents didn't want him around anymore, got rid of him, and he was raised by ocelots for a while. It's like, it's funny because an episode it comes up, it's like it's just completely throwaway gag they never mention again. Like, literally, they never mention that shit again until that spinoff, and it comes like, oh yeah, remember that time we said he was raised by ocelots? What? No, who would remember? Like, so much insane shit happens in this series that one line is so throwaway. The fact that they based an entire spinoff off of that fucking one throwaway line is hilarious to me, dude. It's like super crazy that they went that deep in the lore and used that one-off thing. The funny part is, like, his parents, like, it's kind of shitty. Like, he kind of had, like, it's like I said, his whole backstory, every one of his backstories, all his childhood stories, all like his life in general was just super traumatic and messed up. Like, his parents, before he was born, they thought he was gonna be a girl. They had a baby girl, so they made all these girl clothes. But then when he was born, like, he was a boy, so like he had to wear dresses for years because his mom spent all the money they had and used all the money buying the fabric she can find and making dresses. And then he was a boy, so he had to wear like dresses for years of his life. But then he also has a brother. So his name is Heinz, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and the first name is Heinz. It's Heinz Doofenshmirtz. He has a brother, Roger Doofenshmirtz, who is the mayor of the tri-state area. And like his entire childhood, his brother was just always better than him at everything and always his mom's favorite. And so it's like he got all Roger got all the love. Heinz basically got neglected. There's so like insane shit. So many like crazy backstories based off that. And I'm gonna go back and forth between those because I can't like get them all out right now. It's so many. I'm blanking on some of them. But the whole point is like he's always been Heinz. Roger has always been Heinz's mom's favorite. He's always been their mom's favorite. And he's currently the mayor of the tri-state area, so he gets even more love for that. But that pulls into one of the other episodes where it's like not even backstory episode, but like this show. Brings another point of the show. The show has a lot of like musical numbers, so like it's the classic cartoon where it's like two 11-minute segments make up one episode. A plot is whatever Phineas and Ferb are doing. B plot is the Heinz and Agent P story, and then like I guess if you want to call it a C plot, technically the C plot is Candace trying to get their mom home in time to see what Phineas and Ferb did to get them in trouble for doing something dangerous or like way beyond like what they should be doing, something crazy, but it always backfires, or like the mom gets home and it just seems like seems like something simple, or she just doesn't believe Candace, and she thinks, oh yeah, they just use their imagination. Candace, you have an overactive imagination. You know, you're easily excitable. You're excited about nothing. They just had a simple adventure in the backyard. When there's like episodes where they like literally build a fucking roller coaster that goes across, like starts in their backyard and goes across like half the town, and somehow she just doesn't see any of it. And by the time she gets back to the house, like the roller coaster crashed and they're just sitting in the backyard chilling, and it's just them two, while there's a bunch of kids all the other kids that were riding the roller coaster with them are up in the tree. As the mom just sees them, she goes in the house with the groceries, and the rest of the kids start falling down out of the tree and walking out of the backyard and saying, thanks for the roller coaster ride, guys, and like pointing out that they did this insane thing and walking away, and the mom just never notices any of it. There is one episode where she does catch them, where mom finally does see what they're doing, and they get busted, and they send them to like this reform like boot camp. Basically, they like squash their imagination because their imagination is too dangerous. But in the end, like Candace finally gets what she wants, but in the end, it ultimately makes her miserable, and she realizes, this sucks. Like, yeah, she always wanted to bust her brother. Her whole thing is wanting to bust him. She busted her brothers, but now it's like they're locked up. She's really sad. She finally got what she wanted, but she still like, it made her sad, and it's just kind of depressing. The house is quiet, and there's no fun. In the end, spoiler, in the end, it turns out that whole episode was that whole thing was just a dream. Like, it was just a dream. So, of course, classic cartoon sitcom plot of like, oh, this thing that we thought would never happen actually did happen, and it was just a dream storyline. Boo. But actually, pretty decent episode. Now, back to the Heinz Doofenshmirtz thing. Because this show, like this entire show, every episode, every segment has a song in it that fits something, and it's either related to what Phineas and Ferb are doing, or it's Heinz Doofenshmirtz himself is either singing a song, or it relates to what he's doing. And there's one, like the first episode where he talks about his brother. He has a song where he just basically goes, "My goody two-shoes brother, the favorite of my mother." Like his whole part of the episode is like he brainwashed pigeons to poop on his brother. Like he wants to get pigeons to poop on his brother. And he has like this crazy device that like plants a picture of his brother, like in the pigeon's memory. Like he's like hypnotizing the pigeons to poop on his brother. He has a song about how he wants to cover his brother in pigeon poop because he's their mom's favorite. He hates him because of it. And he's always been resentful of it. And it's just hilarious because like Doofenshmirtz has like these over the top musical numbers. Like this one, he has like a top hat and a cane, and it's like just classic like Rockettes like step line with it, like kick line with it. It's so good. It's so funny, but like it's just so stupid. And like a lot of his plots are like that. Like there's one where like he's never been able to grow facial hair. In the city, he puts a statue outside of his building. He's Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. He's like literally has his own office because he's like divorced, and it's like because he doesn't have a real job. His ex-wife has to pay him alimony, so he uses her alimony to fund all his evil schemes. He has this giant office downtown, and like he even has his own jingle. Like every time they show the building, it just goes Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. And like his daughter like is aware. He also has a daughter, and she's like, he's a villain. Like, mom, no, like he's literally a villain. My ex-wife doesn't believe his daughter. Like similar to the Candy story, like Doofenshmirtz's ex-wife doesn't believe their daughter that when she tells him that Doofenshmirtz is a villain, she doesn't believe him. And then like there's one episode she calls him, and like she gets the answering machine, and the answering machine plays the Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated jingle, and it's like, look, mom, he even has his own evil jingle. She tries to call back, and the second time she calls, he's already at the phone because he missed the first call, so he picks up that time, so the jingle doesn't play. So her mom just doesn't believe he's evil. His ex-wife doesn't believe he's evil, but like he's literally has his giant building downtown that says Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated on it. And it's so funny, and he has his own jingle, and no one believes that he's the evil. She doesn't believe it, and people like it's kind of running gag. People are like, oh wait, dude, Heinz Doofenshmirtz, is that even any relation to Mayor Roger Doofenshmirtz? It's like, yes, my brother, I hate him. And it's just like, and it's like it's funny because Roger doesn't hate Heinz, but he just doesn't understand why Heinz hates him because like Heinz is like always trying to stop him. He's like, I don't get why like Roger doesn't get why Heinz hates him. It's like because he was the good brother. He was the goody two shoes. Like he was the good guy. He always the mom's favorite. So he's just the resentment of years. Like these are grown men. Like easily like 30 to 40-year-old men. Like and just still all this resentment from childhood. All this unresolved childhood trauma. And it's so fun. Like not saying unresolved childhood trauma is funny, but like the way this shit is playing is funny. It's like it's a classic cartoon. It's like essentially Heinz Doofenshmirtz is Elmer Fudd and Perry the Platypus is more of a Bugs Bunny, but like his, I don't want to say his brother's Daffy, but like his brother's basically Daffy without trying to ever like one up him. Like his brother doesn't try to like outdo him or one up him or be better than him. He just naturally is because Heinz plans like naturally fall apart just because of who Heinz is as a person. Like he always like all he builds like all his devices he builds with the self-destruct switch for some reason. And like that's usually 90% of the time that's how Perry beats him. He just hits the self-destruct button, or like because he's a classic cartoon villain, everything has to have an escape hatch or like a self-destruct switch, or like a button that builds up the whole lab, and that's 90% of the time how Perry the Platypus gets away. But also there's a running gag with those two where like anytime Perry shows up, he just shows up as a normal platypus, and Heinz is like, a platypus? And he stands up, Perry stands up, puts a hat on, Perry the Platypus. And it's like, how many platypuses do you see on the regular? So like you'd be cool with just seeing a platypus if your arch nemesis is a platypus. When you be on alert, anytime you saw any platypus, you wouldn't just be relaxed. Like he's relaxed. Oh, a platypus. He puts on a hat. Perry the Platypus and goes on a planet. But there's also like speaking of them being nemesises. I don't know. Anyway, there's a song about that where it's my nema nema, ooh my nema nema nema, my nema nema, ooh my nema nema nema. It's a song that gives the backstory of how Perry became his nemesis, and it's so great. But that comes in an episode where they basically break up because like Doofenshmirtz took a trip to Seattle, and while he was there, his plans got foiled by another agent in the agency, another agent in Alka named Peter the Panda. There's another agent there who's a panda who wears a fedora, and he got foiled by him, and so then they became nemesi. They started fighting each other, and like Perry shows up one day to thwart Doofenshmirtz, and he's already fighting Peter the Panda, and then like Doofenshmirtz kind of explains like, yeah, he's kind of my new nemesis. So like they essentially have like a breakup, like a working relationship breakup, where Perry just goes home all kind of depressed, and like Heinz goes to fighting Peter, and then like in the middle of fighting Peter, like Heinz sees a picture of him and Perry together, and he thinks about it, like goes back and goes down a trip down memory lane, and it starts playing that song about how like the first time they met and how he finally realized he had a nemesis, and it's like a super sweet like happy moment, and it cuts back from the flashback where Peter's just destroying his doomsday device, like You're just destroying the Noonday device while I was having a flashback? What is wrong with you? Like, he breaks it up with Peter because he's mad, like, disappointed. They're like, yo, I was having a sweet, tender moment here, and you just going on with the fight without me? Come on, man. Like, have a heart. And I realized I've already spent most of this episode talking about Peter, not Peter, Perry and Doofenshmirtz, but honestly, they're some of, like, the best parts. Like, their segments are most episodes the smallest part of it, but honestly some of the funniest, and they actually have a lot of the songs are like between those two and based on those because Heinz Doofenshmirtz is voiced by one of the creators of the show, and so like a lot of screen time goes to him. But like Phineas and Ferb, a lot of things they do, like a lot of things they build, are completely insane and way beyond their pay grade. Like they're kids. These are like elementary school kids that just built these insane. Like so in the first episode, they built a roller coaster, and they actually revisit that in one of the episodes. But they decided to make it a musical, even though every episode has a song in it. They make this one where the entire episode is a musical, like a musical episode. So the entire time they're building a roller coaster, they're singing about it. They're singing about going on a loose, singing about building the thing. So the whole episode's a musical, and so they revisit the thing from the summer. Also, I can't believe I waited this long into the show, long in the episode to talk about it. One of the major plot point of the show is the entire series takes place in one summer, but the show has like 4 seasons. The show has 4 seasons, so it's at least like 4 years. I think it ran longer than that, longer than 4 years, but it's been going for like 4 years. And the whole premise is the show takes place in one summer, except for the Christmas episode, which actually canonically take place on Christmas, like in winter. But the rest of the series around it is all summer. Because the whole plot is like them trying to find great ways to spend the summer vacation. Also, I can't believe I got this far in the episode without saying it. The fucking theme song is done by Bowling for Soup, which is a great theme song. Also, Bowling for Soup is a great band. If you're not familiar with them, please check them out. Their music is awesome. It's a lot of pop punk, like it's good, upbeat, fun times. But like the theme song literally just explains the plot of the show. Like, there's summer. We got this many days of summer. We got to live them to the fullest. So the whole plot of the show is Phineas and Ferb trying to live every day of summer to the fullest by getting the most out of it, doing the most they can, and have the most fun before they got to go back to school. And that's literally the entire plot of the series. But also like the roller coaster episode, they do it, they revisit it because then you already do this. Like yes, but this time we're making it a musical. Then there's also their friend Isabella who has a crush on Phineas, and her catchphrase is "What you doing?" Like every episode she comes over, asks them what she like the catalyst for what they're doing. She comes over, asks Phineas, "What you doing?" And then he like explains like, "Oh, we're building blah blah blah," and like she's in the Fireside Girls, which is essentially the Girl Scouts of this universe. And so, like, anytime they need help, anytime Phineas needs help, with Phineas and Ferb need help with what they're doing, she'll call up the rest of the Fireside Girls, and they like all chip in and help build whatever, help work with the build, help get the materials they need, or just like the roller coaster. They help build a roller coaster, and they're riding a roller coaster with them. There's like other friends that hang out with them and kick in. And like Isabella has a couple songs of her own in the series. She sometimes where she has songs. There's also Buford, who's like a bully, but he's also friends with them. But he mostly like the first episode he shows up, he's like going to fight Finn. He's gonna fight Fur. He's gonna fight Phineas. Him and Phineas are gonna fight. Like he's the bully. Is like the episode is like a Rocky training montage. It also has fucking Evander Holyfield in it, and he trains Phineas to help him fight. But we're gonna skip ahead to the fight. Come back, but skip ahead to the fight of that episode, and it ends up like because it's a cartoon, like can't show any blood, can't show any violence, can't show any imitatable violence or any blood or anything. They just thumb wrestle. But like, they both go through this entire boxing montage, training for boxing, like Rocky montage, training for a boxing match, and they just end up thumb wrestling, and it's fucking hilarious. But also, it also has a great song in it where it's like Buford's training song. It's actually, I guess it's both their training songs, but like his behavior is truly unruly. He's a bully. It's so good, like super 80s shit. It's so classic. Also, Candace's sister Candace is voiced by Ashley Tisdale, so she also has like moments where she's like also musical and she can sing, so she has like songs of her own. And there's one episode where like her whole thing is like this like talent show, like this basically American Idol ripoff, the American Idol of their universe. She wants to get on it, whatever, and wants to win, and like she auditions, end up winning, but it turns out like Phineas, like the grand prize was to sing with Phineas and Ferb performing. What was it? I forgot. It was Phineas and the Ferbettes, which is Phineas and Ferb's band with the Fires. Phineas and Ferb and the Fireside Girls, their band they made together because Phineas and Ferb's idea for that day was to become one-hit wonders. Their whole plan was to become one-hit wonders. And so Candace like goes to audition and she ends up winning, but then she finds out the brand prize to perform with them, and she like storms off because she's like mad that they became one-hit wonders while she's like working to try to she had a winners contest to try to perform. And in the end, she's like ends up giving in. It's like, all right, fine, I might as well just embrace it and performs with them. It's like, yeah, we'll see how far this can go. And then, like after the performance, manager was like, "Thanks, that's the last time we're ever going to perform that song because they made a hit. They wanted to be one hit wonders. They got one hit, they got their hit, they were done. That's all they wanted. Thanks, that's the last time we're ever going to perform that song." And they walk off. And Candace is just sitting there with a shocked look on her face as the mall, like they're performing in the mall, and the mall closes, the lights shut off, and she's just sitting there shocked because like she finally embraced it. It's like, cool, I can be, you know what, I might as well just throw out the punches. Sure, they did something they shouldn't have did, but they're gonna be famous. I can be famous off of this. Like, yeah, that's the last time I'm performing. Thanks, and they're out because they only want to be one hit wonders. It's so funny. But there's also another running bit throughout the series. Like the summer thing, they call it out in there's a couple episodes where they call out how like, oh man, the summer just goes on for so long. There's one Douchemer's like, yeah, you know, because Douchemer has a new evil plot every day. He's like, yeah, just so long. I feel like the summer's been going on for like 4 years now. This is in season 4 of the series. The series has been going for 4 years, but it's all still set in the same summer. Like canonically, it's one summer. So it's 4 years in. Douchemer calls out how it feels like it's been 4 years. Funny joke. I over-explained it. Fuck you. No, I'm playing. But yeah, I did over-explain it. Sorry. But yeah, it's a hilarious show. Highly recommend checking it out. But also, there's a running bit of, there's this song, there's one hit wonder from the 80s called Lindana. This lady that was one hit wonder in the 80s. Her name is Lindana. And she has a song that's, I'm Lindana and I wanna have fun. I wanna have fun, fun, fun. This song is like as the background music for a lot of episodes. It pops up all throughout the series the entire time, and it like finally call it out that there's all these episodes like, oh, remember Lindana? Like they show Lindana, and also, and finally there's like, I think it's like it's late into the series. There's finally an episode where they fully call it out that their mom was Lindana, and like it's so funny because when they finally call it out, everyone knew but Candace. Candace sees her on TV and was like, "Mom, you're Lindana." I was like, "Yeah, everyone else knew." Like like Phineas and Ferb knew, the dad knew, everyone was like, yeah, it's pretty obvious. Like everyone else saw it, but Candace just never caught on that their mom was Lindana. And like she gets called to do like basically, I hate to say it, but like a has-been story, like it was a remember when. It was basically like a show of people that once that like one hit, like people that were big in the 80s, like people that used to be big but kind of fell off musically. And Lindana gets hired to do the show, and Candace like gets brought on as one of her backup singers. She's like, oh yeah, I get to perform with you, cool. She gets perform as one of her backup singers. Well, it turns out their dad is like, you know, kind of bummed out by like, you know, she gets to perform. I'm not doing anything because he was just an average dude. He's like just British. Also, okay, so they're all step siblings. Phineas and Ferb, I don't know, Phineas and Candace have the same mom, and then their mom married Ferb's dad. So there's Candace and Phineas are step siblings with Ferb, and Ferb is British. Like Ferb and his dad are British. They have British accents. Ferb's grandparents show up because I guess technically both sets of grandparents show up in the show. Phineas' grandparents show up when they go camping, and they tell them like the legend of Bigfoot, and like they're kind of wacky and funny. And like Phineas's grandma has a twin sister that only comes out once a year and helps her grandma pull off pranks. And then Ferb's grandparents are British, and like they go visit them in London, and like basically it's just like a lot of stories with them that are really awesome and great moments. But back to the story, back to what I was getting at. Their dad basically gets bummed out that like, yeah, your mom's off doing this show, and you know, I kind of wish I was, I wish I had been like at that level of stardom. Not so he wants to stardom, but like wishes he was, you know, had the ability to perform. He wanted to perform on that show too. So they turned him into a once has was, like not a new star, but someone that was. Oh no, prove that you were a star, and they basically make up this plot, make up this backstory from where he was a star in the 80s. They turned him into Max Modem. Turn him into Max Modem, and it's like this like 80s techno like synthwave song. Make him one hit. Turn him into a one hit wonder from the 80s, but in current day. Makes him big enough to where like they show up at the show and like he gets booked to perform on the show, and they're Max Modem in the mainframes, and it's a really dope song. I love it. Highly recommend checking it out. Max Modem mainframes, Alien Heart, dope song, really fucking good. Shit slaps. It's so dope. But like yeah, the whole plot was, and then at the end of that, like then of his performance, it turns out like oh like mom they clearly like the mom Candace clearly realized oh yeah that's your dad, you know, performing. And like it's all good, it's all great. Like at the end of the performances, they both get offered to go on tour because people love this show. Some love that show, love that performance so much that Lindana and Max Mono both get offered to go on tour together, and they all turn it down. It's like no, you know, we had our fun. We had our fun in the 80s. We came back to this one off. It was great. I don't really want that anymore. I just want to live a normal life. And then like Candace is kind of bummed out because her whole thing is she wants to be a star. She wants to live that celebrity life. But she's like, eventually accepts, like, okay, that you guys chose this or whatever. But if I ever get that chance, I'm going. I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna live my life. And it's like, it's kind of cool. There's a lot of shit they do. Like, I haven't even touched half of what they do. There's time travel episodes. There's the roller coaster musical. There's multiple movies or just like TV specials. There's one where like they travel around the entire world on a day. It's great. It has a lot of dope songs in it. It has the the first reference to Cliffaloon, who's the old timey bathing suit who lives in the Himalayas, who goes who ends up coming back in multiple episodes. It's awesome. I highly recommend checking that one out. There's a giant floating baby head, which is in a lot of episodes and doesn't really get an explanation until like way later in the series. And even then, technically, it doesn't get a full explanation. There's like a book of like old secret, like old ancient things they're reading. It's like, oh, giant floating restive baby. And they just kind of call out throwaway line of giant floating restive baby because it's a giant floating baby head, but it's never explained where the body of the giant floating baby head is. And it's called out giant floating restive baby, giant floating restive baby. And they never they never really dive into it. But there's a lot of like time travel and like flashback. Like if you like you like cutaway gags or just like over the top things or even just like musical numbers, highly recommend this show. They're all great. It's all a good time. Pretty much almost every character on the show gets a song at some point. Like Heinz Doofenshmirtz's daughter Vanessa, she has a really great singing voice. She has really great songs. I'm pretty sure she has the same singing voice as Marceline from Adventure Time. But she has a couple songs. She has a duet with Candace called "Busted," where she's trying to catch her dad. She's trying to bust her dad. Candace is trying to bust Phineas and Ferb. You know, trying to catch them in the act, trying to get like evidence of them doing the thing they shouldn't be doing. She's trying to prove that her dad's evil. Candace is trying to prove that Phineas and Ferb are building things they shouldn't. It's awesome. She also has a song called "I'm Me," where it's like her proving like her like the like triumphant anthem of proving that like, hey, dad, I don't need you constantly over my shoulder. I can do this on my own. You know, I can be me. I'm my own person. I can get stuff done on my own. It's really awesome. There's also a really dope one by Doofenshmirtz called where it's like it's basically like him and Perry get into a fight in a junkyard, and like it's the same place where Vanessa's like goth, and it's the same place where like her goth friends are having a rave, and Heinz falls down a hill, like lands in like his hands fall in a bucket of glue. He gets like hits a box of records, gets records stuck on his hands. He crushes the DJ at the party and like lands with his hands on the turntable with the records glued to him. And he's like standing there freezing. And like Perry puts a mind control helmet on him and starts like making him DJ. And like he starts rapping to it. And it's like he's like start like it's not necessarily rapping, just like explaining the situation that's going on, but he's doing it to the beat. And he's trying to explain that like he's not DJing on purpose, like there's a platypus controlling him, like trying to explain that Perry's under the table controlling him. And essentially he ends up winning over all the teenagers. He wins over Vanessa. Like they all think it's just him, like platypus is a metaphor of politics. Honestly, if you check out any song that from this episode, you check out any song from that series, check out There's a Platypus Controlling Me, or I'll say this one for the last, best one for the last, Moon Cow Ice Cream, because they go to the moon, like the nursery rhyme, hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, cow jumped over the moon. Apparently there's a line that was forgotten by time about why the cow jumped over the moon, like the cow jumping over the moon when the low gravity like created this insane ice cream. So they go to the moon, they plant grass, go to the moon, they take cows to the moon, they plant grass, feed the cows on the moon, and make moon cow ice cream. And the song Moon Cow Ice Cream is so awesome. Like it's a reggae song. And like one of the characters, Baljeet, like starts arguing with the soundtrack, like literally breaks the fourth wall, argues with the soundtrack. The song was like, we got chocolate, vanilla, but we don't have Rocky Road. It's not that we don't like it. We left the marshmallows at home. I blame Baljeet. It's like, Baljeet's like, wait, what do you mean you blame Baljeet? The character just starts arguing with the soundtrack. And he's like, oh, and he calls him, and Baljeet calls him Mr. Disembodied Reggae Space Voice. And he's like, hey, wait, whoa, I have a name. Oh, yeah? What is it? It's Disembodied Reggae Space Voice. But there's no way you could have known that. It's the funniest, like one of the funniest fucking moments from this entire series. Like the character is literally arguing with the background soundtrack, and like eventually that gets resolved, and then during the credits, the same song plays, And then like that happens again, that line happens again, and they start arguing again. And he's like, "Wait, I thought we was in Baljeet." He's like, "I thought we settled this." And then the soundtrack's like, "Hey, it's part of the song, man." It's like literally Baljeet arguing, like the soundtrack calling out Baljeet for leaving marshmallows at home, and then arguing with him is part of the song. And it's so fucking funny, dude. Like I highly recommend checking out the series. Also, the Crazy series have had like multiple series come off of this. There's Milo Murphy's Law, which is the son, great grandson. Like it's the ancestor of the guy who created Murphy's Law, which is anything that can go wrong will go wrong, or anything that can happen will happen, or anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anyway, that character like has an insane look, like which is insanely impossible things happen to him constantly because of that law. And I guess there's also another series called Hamster and Gretel, which I haven't seen, but I guess that one's like a Disney Plus original. But honestly, the creators of Phineas and Ferb are still doing great things. I guess. Well, one of them is still writing on those other two shows. The other guy's doing other co-creators doing other stuff. But like they're both still making shows. Everything made by them is dope. It has great music. They have great fun. Just a fun time. There's cool animation. They have a Phineas and Ferb has a crossover episode with Marvel, like Marvel superhero, like full blown crossover with Marvel superheroes, like straight up crossover with the Avengers. What is it? Iron Man, Hulk, Thor. I don't remember who else is in it. I've never seen a full episode because that came out after I stopped watching the series. Like I said, the series came out like later in my cartoon watching year. Like I still watch cartoons, but the series came out late enough to where like I didn't see the ending when it aired because I had stopped. Eventually, I just stopped watching Disney, so I didn't see the ending when it aired. But I did go back on Netflix and rewatch the whole series, and like it was a great time. And now I think it might not be on Netflix anymore, but it definitely is on Disney Plus because it is a Disney series. But I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth the watch. Even just looking at the songs would be a good time. You can just go watch best of clips and have a good time, man. Highly recommend it. Definitely think you should check it out. Thank you for checking out this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your family. That's probably, I don't know. If you don't like your family, don't tell them. I don't know, man. But tell anyone you think would enjoy this shit. Thank you for coming back for another episode. Sorry for the gap. It just happens, man. Sometimes you just fall out of it and you don't put things out for a while. I don't record for a long time. I got ideas and it just takes me a while to find energy to put them out. But I'm back now. I'm putting out more episodes. Got more coming at you. Got some big hitters that I've been holding on to coming. Got new guests coming. Got at least one guest lined up for this year. Hopefully I can get more. Hopefully I can get them back for more episodes. Hopefully I can get that guest for more episodes. Definitely come up with some bigger things this year. And just, yeah, hopefully keep up the quality. Keep you coming back for more. Keeping you entertained. Peace.